Welcome, dear learners, to another immersive literary session. Today, we delve into Act 4 of The Tempest, where the themes of forgiveness, illusion, and moral reckoning take center stage. As we continue exploring this magical tragicomedy, Act 4 presents a dramatic shift from plotting and peril to spectacle and resolution. Let's examine every scene, line, and motif with scholarly depth. Today, we venture into Act 4, a pivotal act where magic, morality, and forgiveness and theatricality converge in a rich tapestry of the poetic drama. As we navigate this act, you will witness Prospero's evolving mindset and the symbolic mask of goddesses and the brewing tensions of betrayal. This class aims not just to explain the events of Act 4 but to dive deeply into philosophical undercurrents, question of power, illusion, repentance, and the ephemeral nature of life. We will also decode the intricate themes and motifs, examine character arcs, and reflect upon Shakespeare's use of spectacle as a vehicle of transformation. So, get ready for a thoughtful and nuanced discussion rooted in close textual reading and critical insight. Let's explore how The Tempest continues to enchant with its blend of the tragic, comic, and redemptive. So, The Tempest Act 4, Scene 1 is a complete act in itself. It's a one act scene. So, the whole scene is a complete Act 4. Act 4 is primarily composed of one scene but is rich in spectacle, symbolic meaning, and character transformation. It is in this act that Prospero tastes Ferdinand, blesses the union of Ferdinand and Miranda, and prepares for the final act of justice and reconciliation. This act bridges the transition from deception to resolution, emphasizing theatricality, repentance, and order. So, Act 4 marks a significant tonal shift in The Tempest. Unlike the intense confrontation and political plotting in the earlier acts, Act 4 blends poetic spectacle, moral reckoning, and emotional evolution. So, here Shakespeare uses this act to stage a transformation in Prospero and to explore broader ideas such as justice, forgiveness, love, and the nature of illusion. So, if we talk about plot, there is Prospero's test and transformation. At the beginning of the act, Prospero praises Ferdinand for his honor, patience, and for his love for Miranda. And his love for Miranda. After having tested the young man's virtue and commitment, Prospero finally rewards Ferdinand with Miranda's hand in marriage. This is not just a romantic union, but actually but also it represents the restoration of harmony and a return to natural order following the chaos of political betrayal. However, Prospero's stern reminder to break her virgin knot before all ceremonies may with full and holy rite be ministered. It reveals his concern with self restraint, moral integrity, and social responsibility. The second point is the mask, which is actually symbolism and spectacles. The grand mask that Prospero conjures through his magic, featuring Iris, Ceres, and Juno, is one of the act's most visual and philosophical rich moments. This theatrical device serves its functions, uh, it celebrates the purity of Ferdinand and Miranda's love. It invokes classical goddess to symbolize fertility, chastity, and divine blessings on their union. It showcases Shakespeare's commentary on the power of art and illusion as a civilizing and moral force. The Masque also acts as a meta-theatrical moment, reminding the audience that the Tempest itself is a performance transient, a performance which are transient and crafted. So third point in the plot is the ephemeral life. Ephemeral means which is for a very short period. So the mask is suddenly cut short when Prospero remembers Caliban's conspiracy to kill him. In this moment, he delivers one of the most profound monologues in all of Shakespeare's. As I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into air and into thin air. There's a dialogue in the scene one in the act 4. So this speech offers existential reflection. Prospero meditates on the impermanence of human life, likening it to a dream and a performance and a fleeting pageant. It's a deeply Renaissance meditation on mortality and illusion. Fourth is Caliban's plot and comic relief. Meanwhile, Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo, they all three continue their drunken plotting to overthrow Prospero. Their farcical behavior contrasts sharply with the lofty beauty of the mask. Shakespeare uses this comic subplot to criticize greed, to criticize ambition, and to criticize the foolishness of self-entitled rule. It shows Caliban as a tragicomic figure because Caliban is both victim and a fool. Emphasize the difference between noble love, the noble love for of Ferdinand and Miranda, and the second thing is base desire. So this point emphasize the difference between the noble love and base desire. Noble love of Ferdinand and Miranda and base desire of Stefano's delusion of power. So their humiliation, getting distracted by gaudy clothing and then being chased off by spirits. It further underlines the moral imbalance of their motives. Fifth point is themes deepened in Act 4. As we know that Act 4 is central to the play's thematic fabric. It consists of some of the themes like illusion versus reality, forgiveness versus and transformation, art as a moral force, colonialism and rebellion, illusion versus reality through it represents through Masque and Prospero's speech. Forgiveness and transformation represents through Prospero, Prospero is slowly moving from vengeance to mercy. The next point is act as moral force. So magic and spectacle serve to guide and not to deceive. The next point is colonialism and rebellion. So Caliban's subplot reflects issues of control and resistance. So Act 4, while less action driven, is philosophical dense it's a philosophical dense but emotionally rich. It represents Prospero's internal shift from retribution to redemption and offers a profound commentary on the human condition. The role of art and the value of temperance. It's the calm before the resolution, setting the stage for reconciliation and closure in Act 5, which is the last act of the play. So, the story of Act 4, or we can say the story of the only scene of Act 4 begins when Prospero finally consents to the marriage between Ferdinand and Miranda. दोनों की शादी के लिए मान जाता है वो, but only after thoroughly testing Ferdinand's intentions and virtue, right? So he warns him against lust before marriage. Being a father, he's supposed to do that actually. So he warns Ferdinand against lust before marriage and reinforcing the moral framework that governs the island and his philosophy. So following this, Prospero conjures a masque featuring the goddess Iris, Ceres and Juno, who bless the couple with promise of prosperity, happiness and fertility. So the masque is an allegorical celebration of chastity, honor and divine favor. However, Prospero suddenly breaks off the masque, reminded of Caliban's plot to kill him. In the subplot, Caliban, Trinculo and Stefano prepare to attack Prospero but are thwarted by Ariel, who lures all of them with gaudy clothes. Their comic foolishness contrasts with the grace of the earlier masque. So the Act 4, ends with Prospero's affirming the fleeting nature of life and art through the iconic speech, which is a moment of theatrical reflection. So this is all about Act 4, and this is the background, or we can say the foreground of Act 5. So let's discuss major themes in Act 4. The first one is illusion versus reality. So Act 4 is dominated by the masque, a grand magical pageant Prospero creates for Miranda and Ferdinand. It showcases mythological goddesses like Iris, Ceres and Juno. So they all celebrating love, fertility and harmony. But this spectacular display is not real. It vanishes suddenly when Prospero remembers Caliban's conspiracy. So the call for these goddesses is illusion, but it vanishes all of a sudden when Prospero remembers the reality. The reality. These are illusion, and the reality is when Prospero remembers Caliban's conspiracy. Right. So this passage, so this theme famously reflects on the ephemeral nature of both theatre and life. Here we can see that, being the readers, we can see that Shakespeare blurs the line between reality and illusion, showing how our achievements and pleasure, even love and power, are transitory like dreams or performance. This theme, this one, connects to the entire play's dramatic form as a romance where magic and illusion question what is truly real. Right. Second is power and authority. So Prospero continues to display and test his authority, right? Not through cruelty but through moral and ceremonial control. In the whole play, we can see that Prospero never shows his cruelty, although he always has a feeling of revenge for their enemies, but he represents his authority through moral and ceremonial control, right? He wants Ferdinand to preserve Miranda's chastity before marriage, although he's now agreed for their marriage, but He clearly warns Ferdinand to preserve her chastity before marriage, and he stages the mask to celebrate the virtue, and then shifts his attention to suppressing Caliban's rebellion. So here we can see that Prospero's power is not just magical, but it is also paternal and political. By controlling Miranda's marriage, he ensures that order and legitimacy are restored after years of exile. His authority serves a greater cause, restoring justice and balance to the world. So this is all about this theme. The third one is self restraint and virtue. um, Prospero actually insists Ferdinand to show Prospero insists Ferdinand it shows self restraint and warning against consummating the marriage before its time. His emphasis on moral conduct reflects Renaissance ideals of temperance, chastity, and social responsibility. Right. So this theme, this one, adds emotional depth to the love story. Ferdinand is not rewarded for passion, but for patience actually, and for his moral integrity. उसका पैशन ने उसका प्रोस्पेरो ने शादी के लिए हाँ नहीं कहा है. थ्रू ड्यू टू हिज पेशेंस, ड्यू टू हिज मॉरल इंटेग्रिटी, ही अग्रीड फॉर देयर मैरिज. Prospero's test remind us that real love is not only about desire, but also about virtue, duty, and spiritual harmony. So real Prospero's test represents that real love is not only about desire but also about virtue, duty, and spiritual harmony. Fourth theme is colonialism and rebellion. So the comic subplots involving Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo, they all satirize the subplot satirizes attempts at rebellion. Caliban seeks to overthrow Prospero and offers the island to the drunken Stefano, but their plot is ridiculous, and they are distracted by shiny clothes and liquor. So Caliban's failure here, it exposes the tragic absurdity of colonized subjects, which turns to unworthy subjects turning to unworthy leaders. Shakespeare critiques both colonial power and the futile colonial power of Prospero's control of the island, and the futile self-defeating nature of rebellion when it lacks wisdom or unity. So Caliban's tragic potential is undercut by his comic alliance, which is a complex portrayal of the colonized subject. Fifth theme is art, theatre, and magic. This masque serve as a symbol of Shakespearean theatre itself, which are magical, ephemeral, and instructive. So Prospero, as a dramatist-like figure, stages performances that teach lessons, restore order, and express philosophical truths. So here we can see that Shakespeare uses the masque to reflect on the role of art. It may be an illusion, but it carries spiritual and emotional weight. This connects to Prospero's journey from vengeance to forgiveness, from manipulation to relinquishment. Art becomes a vehicle of transformation, not for just entertainment. The last theme of the act 4 is transience and mortality. So act 4 includes one of the Shakespeare's most profound reflections on the impermanence of life. The mask's sudden disappearance reminds Prospero and the audience that all human accomplishments, joy and suffering are brief. So this theme underpins the entire act. That is true. Life itself is framed as a dream, fleeting and insubstantial. Prospero's speech is both melancholic and philosophical, embracing a stoic awareness of mortality and the importance of spiritual resolution. So this is all themes of the Act 4. Now we will discuss key motifs. The first is the mask. This is very important. Many times, this is a very important topic, the mask. Uh, it has been questioned numerous times in the previous papers. You can see that. So, the central event in Act 4 is the mask. It's a high stylized mythological performance arranged by Prospero for Miranda and Ferdinand, featuring goddesses like Iris, Ceres, and Juno. The mask celebrates marital fidelity, harmony, and fertility. So, as a motive, the significance of the mask is it's a kind of celebration, a celebration of union. The mask actually embodies the Renaissance ideals of love, which are not just romantic but also divinely sanctioned and socially stabilizing. It reinforces the virtue of chaste love before marriage. We can see the theatrical commentary here through Masque actually. The Masque reflects Shakespeare's own theatre, positioning Prospero as a playwright director. This meta theatrical element deepens the play's self awareness as a staged illusion. We can see the joy here. The sudden vanishing of Masque remind us of the fragile, transient nature or transient nature of human pleasure, directly linking to the theme of mortality. So the joy is very short. It's for the joy is very is for short time period actually. So Prospero's reflect the mask fleeting through his dialogues actually. Prospero's famous dialogues in the Act 4 reflect the mask fleeting nature and suggest that all of life is like theater, dreamlike and impermanent. Matlab, it's not permanent actually. The second motif is magic and illusion. So Prospero's use of magic is at its most spectacular in this act, from the visual grandeur to of the mask to the comical enchantments used on Caliban and his co-conspirators. So, uh, through magic and illusion, we can see uh, a point which represents actually it represents control and justice, because magic allows Prospero to engineer harmony, reward virtue and punish vice without bloodshed. It means he punished wisely. It's a metaphor for enlightened authority. Magic here represents artifice, a constructed reality that can elevate human experience or manipulate it. It questions what is natural or what is constructed, or whether illusions are sometimes more truthful than the reality itself. While illusions dominate, The act also provides moments of profound truth, especially Prospero's reflections on life's brevity, making magic a means to philosophical clarity. Third motif is rebellion and subversion. So the subplot, which involves Caliban, Stephen, and Trinculos, they all are planning to kill Prospero, is comically absurd, but thematically it is rich. Uh, Caliban's rebellion hints at colonial unrest. He wants to reclaim his island from Prospero. However, his choice of Stefano, a drunken fool, as king undermines his cause. As we have discussed in our last video, that he chose Stefano, a drunkard, over Prospero, who is a wise king actually. So the rebellion of Caliban reflects of cyclical nature of authority and oppression. Those who are oppressed may in turn become foolish tyrants. So the character of Caliban represent it very well. Uh, the trio of Caliban, Trinculo, and Stefano, that their plot is derailed by their lust for power and greed. Being they all are being distracted by clothes. It actually symbolizing how base instincts disrupt noble causes. The fourth point is chastity and honor. As we have discussed it earlier, Prospero wants Ferdinand not to break virgin knot before all the ceremony, before all sanctimonious ceremony. It means do not here actually Prospero wants Ferdinand not to do anything which is not correct before marriage. So here we can see that chastity becomes a test of Ferdinand's honor and love. In Shakespearean romance, love and honor must be both spiritual and moral. In all comedies of Shakespeare, we can see that love is both spiritual and moral. Right? So chastity here symbolizes control, discipline, and respect for social and divine laws. It is the foundation of a just and stable future for the younger generation. Here we can see that Miranda's purity is depicted as a gift, and it is controlled and bestowed by her own father. Here we can see that her father's control over her chastity, right? And this motif, chastity and honor, and the control of her father over her chastity, reflects patriarchal values but also emphasizing her worth and significance. The second the last sorry not last the second last motif is dreams and sleep. So this motif is deeply tied to Prospero's reflections during and after the Masque. Life is seen as a dream here. Life is seen as a dream here. A brief performance before we fade into sleep, which is death actually. The mask which dissolves suddenly is a visual representation of this. Prospero's acknowledgement that marks a profound moment of self-awareness and prepares us for his eventual renunciation of magic and power. Here we can see that Shakespeare elevates dream motif into the spiritual meditation, and he considers sleep as death. And Shakespeare elevates the dream and sleep motif into spiritual meditation on illusion, mortality, and human need for meaning in an impermanent world. The next is clothing and disguise. This is the last motif of Act 4. So in the subplot of Trinculo, Stefano and Caliban, they are actually distracted by fine clothes. Prospero hangs as a trap. Clothing becomes a symbol of status and delusion. The comic character believe that putting on fancy garments will elevate their status. It highlights the absurdity of surface level power. Their obsession with garments overthrows their goals and mirroring the moral failures caused by greed and vanity. Clothing also mocks the pretensions of civilized society and reminding us that colonizers too can be ridiculous. So it's all about motifs. Now we will discuss the key quotes from the original text of the Tempest Act 4 Scene 1. Uh, this is a dialogue of Prospero to Ferdinand. If I have to austerely punish you, your compensation makes amends. So here, actually, Prospero begins the act by addressing Ferdinand, acknowledging that his trials may have been severe, but now he rewards him with Miranda's hand. These lines actually shows Prospero's paternal affection and justice, as he is not cruel, but he is careful. Prospero is not Prospero is not cruel, but he is careful to his loving daughter. So a glimpse into the theme of testing virtue, like gods testing morals in classical myths. So the shift from punishment to reward symbolizes forgiveness, reconciliation, and reward of moral endurance. So the next dialogue is also spoken by Prospero. Then, as my gift and thine own acquisition worthily purchased, take my daughter. So here, Prospero gives Miranda. He gives, take my daughter. So he gives Miranda to Ferdinand, but he also stresses that Ferdinand has earned her. वो कह रहे हैं ना worthily purchased. It means Ferdinand has earned her through patience and honor. तो भी कहता है ये कि then as my gift and thine own acquisition worthily purchased, take my daughter. If we think on this, so it's reinforces patriarchal authority. Miranda is both a gift or a reward. Here Miranda is both a gift or a reward. So it reflects Renaissance value of virtue, chastity and nobility. Through these lines, Prospero acts as a divine or a priest-like figure, sanctifying this union through his blessing. The next is also spoken by Prospero. Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits and are melted into thin air. So after the masque ends abruptly due to Prospero's sudden remembrance of Caliban's plot, right? So he delivers this ironic monologue. तो आप ये कह सकते हो कि ये monologue है और काफ़ी आइकनिक है, ये आइकॉनिक मोनोलॉग है. दिस स्पीच meditates on ephemeral nature of life and performance. All human grandeur is like a stage play and gone. It has gone in moments. यहाँ पे जो लाइन है ये air, into thin air. Into thin air. It's a phrase. Actually, Shakespeare coined here this phrase. It shows how deeply he shaped English language. Shakespeare uses the English language in a very deep way here. It also reflects Shakespeare's own sense of theatrical transience. It's a commentary on illusion of control and permanence. So these lines reflects Shakespeare's sense of theatrical transience, right? Next is, ये भी Prospero का ही dialogue है. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. So perhaps this is the most famous quote of from the play. इस पर आप स्टार लगा लीजिए, 3 स्टार में लगा लीजिए, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. Here Prospero reflects on life as a dream and it is encircled by a sleep. स्लीप को हमने पहले ही बताया है, ये है डेथ. और जो लाइफ है उसको ये कह रहा है ड्रीम. So Prospero reflects on life as a dream and encircled by sleep, which is actually death. So if we talk about its meaning, so it means here life is brief. So na, our little life, it means life is a brief illusory experience echoing classical ideas, right? और ये बोला इसने ये कहा है we are such stuff. Here stuff refers to the essence of our being, which is not physical but imagined and intangible. It is imaginary reference of the essence of our being. Stuff जिसे बोला है. अगला यहाँ पर है ये rounded with a sleep. Here this line means that life begins and ends in unconsciousness. As we know that birth and death are both veiled. तो लाइफ शुरू भी होती है और ख़त्म भी होती है अनकॉन्शियसनेस में. लाइक जब एक छोटा बच्चा पैदा होता है तो वो अनकॉन्शियस होता है. जब एक इंसान मरने वाला होता है तभी वो काफ़ी अनकॉन्शियस होता है. सो हेयर वी कैन we can identify some themes which is connected here through this dialogue. These are actually mortality. Why? Because these line talk about death and life. ठीक है, लाइफ और डेथ की बात हो रही तो मोर्टैलिटी है, इल्यूजन है यहाँ पर, टाइम की बात हो रही है यहाँ पर, एंड फिलॉसफी ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस, इसकी बात हो रही है यहाँ पर. सो दीज लाइन सजेस्ट प्रॉस्पेरोस इंटरनल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मूविंग टूवर्ड्स रिनंसिएशन एंड एक्सेप्टेंस. द नेक्स्ट इज, ये फर्डिनेंड का डायलॉग है. सो वो कहता है यहाँ पर, लेट मी लिव हेयर एवर, सो रेयर अ वॉन्डर्ड फादर एंड अ वाइज मेक्स दिस प्लेस पैराडाइज. सो फर्डिनेंड इज awestruck by the Masque and Prospero's grandeur and he is comparing the island to the paradise. So it shows Ferdinand's admiration and his deep respect towards Prospero, his deep respect for Prospero actually. It reflects Renaissance idealization of nature, wisdom and harmony. It highlights redemptive power of art and spectacle. The Masque inspires spiritual joy. Next is Prospero की लाइन है ये, A devil, a born devil, on whose nature nurture can never stick. ये ना कैलिबन के बारे में बोल रहा है. जब वो ऑल ऑफ सडन वो कैलिबन के सब प्लॉट की बात करने लगता है, हु वांटेड टू किल हिम. तो ये तब की लाइन है. सो Prospero speaks of Caliban here, a harsh and perhaps racist condemnation. This line reveals the limits of Prospero's humanism. Despite his wisdom, he fails to see Caliban as redeemable. ये जो लाइन है ना यहाँ पे, नर्चर कैन नेवर स्टिक, वो कह रहे हैं कि ये जो डेविल है ये तो बॉर्न डेविल है, इसका नेचर डेविल ही है. जो नर्चर यहाँ पर कर रहा है वो नर्चर उसका किसने किया है, प्रॉस्पेरो ने किया है. तो कह रहा है कि नर्चर से फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, नर्चर कैन नेवर स्टिक. कैलिबन जो है उसने जो ये प्लॉटिंग की टू किल प्रॉस्पेरो, ये इसलिए क्योंकि वो खुद डेविल ही है. सो नेचर कैन नेवर स्टिक suggests that civilizing influence is wasted on Caliban, and it's reinforcing colonial ideology. So this quote opens a moral debate. Is Caliban inherently evil? Because he said ना born devil है, तो क्या ये inherent है जो इसके अंदर ये evil है, और has he been dehumanized by Prospero power? या प्रॉस्पेरो ने जो पावर दिखाई उस पर उसको अपना स्लेव बना लिया, ये रीज़न है कि वो डिह्यूमनाइज्ड हो गया. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज, ये कैलिबन ने स्टिफेनो से कहा है, डू दैट गुड मिस्चीफ विच मे मेक दिस आइलैंड दाइन ओन फॉर एवर. सो कैलिबन अर्जेस स्टिफेनो टू मर्डर प्रॉस्पेरो एंड सीज द आइलैंड. कह रहे नहीं, गुड मिसचीफ कर लो, मार डालो प्रॉस्पेरो को, एंड मेक दिस आइलैंड एज योर ओन. ठीक है. सो गुड मिसचीफ इज़ अ ऑक्सीमोरन. आपने पोएटिक डिवाइसेस पढ़े होंगे, कई सारे पोएटिक डिवाइसेस होते हैं जिसमें से एक है ऑक्सीमोरन. तो ये ऑक्सीमोरन का बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है. सो गुड मिसचीफ, इट्स अ पोएटिक डिवाइस व्हेन टू डिफरेंट वर्ड्स एक साथ लिखे जाते हैं, जैसे फायर आइज, गुड ईविल या ईविल गुड, ऐसे करके दो ऑपोजिट वर्ड्स को एक साथ लिखा जाता है. तो यहाँ पर भी यही है, गुड मिसचीफ. सो इज एन ऑक्सीमोरन. इट रिवील्स Caliban's warped sense of justice and desperation. It shows Caliban's manipulation and internalization of violence. It perhaps learns from colonizer. It reflects the theme of subversion, rebellion, though ultimately it is farcical and fails. The last quote from the Act 4 Scene 1, ये ट्रिंक्यूलो ने बोला है, O King Stephano, O peer, O worthy Stephano, look what a wardrobe here is for thee. Thee मतलब you. So as Stephano and Trinculo find fancy clothes hung by Prospero as a trap, right? So they all are distracted. They all are distracted from the murder plot. पहले वो murder plotting कर रहे होते हैं, फिर सडनली वो फैंसी क्लोथ्स देख लेते हैं. तो क्लोथ्स देखकर ये लोग अपना वो मर्डर का प्लान भूल जाते हैं. So clothing becomes a symbol of false authority and material distraction. तो यहाँ पर हमको ये दो थीम देखने को मिलते हैं. The first is false authority and material distraction. ठीक है. तो ये जो इनके मन में था ना कि ये लिबर्टी लेंगे, फ्रीडम लेंगे, ये आइलैंड को ओन करेंगे, प्रॉस्पेरो को मार डालेंगे, वो सब ये भूल गए. सो इट reinforces the idea that fools are easily corrupted by superficial powers. And it satirizes how rulers can be made, not by merit, but by costume and illusion. So it's a political commentary here. So this is all about Act 4. So Act 4 of the Tempest is Shakespeare's celebration of art, chastity, and moral virtue, right? But it is also a solemn reminder of life's ephemerality. Prospero's power is at its zenith, yet he begins to reflect on the ethics of control and the limitations of illusion. The juxtaposition of divine spectacle and base comic tragedy underscores the play's classification as a tragicomedy. So this act paves the way of reconciliation and resolution in the final act. So this act serves as a profound turning point in the play, where Shakespeare not only furthers the narrative of reconciliation and reward, but also elevates the philosophical weight of the drama. The act blends spectacle with introspection, and power with humility, and illusion with truth. At its heart lies a pivotal shift in Prospero's character, who moves from the magician commanding nature to the philosopher poet contemplating morality. Through the Masque, Shakespeare celebrates harmony, marriage, and blessings of nature. It's a tribute to divine order and the human ideal. Yet, this grandeur is abruptly cut short, reminding the audience that life's greatest beauties are ephemeral, that they are not long lasting, and that joy is always shadowed by responsibility. Prospero's Masque, while visually enchanting, it becomes a metaphor for the theatre itself. It's a fleeting illusion that mirrors life. So Prospero's iconic monologue encapsulates Shakespeare's meta-theatrical commentary. Here the magician becomes a mouthpiece for the playwright, voicing a meditation on impermanence and the human condition and the delicate line between art and reality. So this moment strips away the magical trapping of the island and confronts the audience with the raw truth of existence. So all splendor fades, all power dissolves, and all life ends in sleep. So, and simultaneously, the subplot involving Caliban and Stefano Trinculo reaches its peak of comic absurdity and thematic gravity. Their failed rebellion and distraction by garment symbolizes the corruptibility of those who seeks power without wisdom, and also functions as a satirical reflection of colonial conquest, where rulers are made not by merit but by deception and vanity. Act 4 therefore becomes a mirror to civilization. As Prospero edges towards forgiveness and releases from vengeance, Shakespeare prepares the audience for the final act of resolution. This act is not merely a narrative bridge, it is a spiritual meditation and philosophical interlude and a critique of human ambition, all wrapped in poetic splendor. So, to conclude, I can say that Act 4 is a reminder that while magic may charm and illusions may dazzle, it is humanity, grace, and forgiveness that bring the soul peace, a message Shakespeare leaves to echo in the concluding act. Thank you so much for being here.